More trade rumors coming your way on the Los Angeles Lakers Report by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Chase Sr. But first, we took a look at the numbers. 200 subscribers over the last 2 days. The road to 42K is on. Let's do it for Big Game James, 3-time NBA champion with the purple and gold. Hit that red subscribe button down below for the best Lakers coverage here on YouTube. That intro music always bangs. You're watching the Lakers Report by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Chase Sr. Valentine's Day is coming up right around the corner. Get yourself in gear and in shape down below the belt with the perfect package from Manscaped and the Lawnmower 4.0. You can get 20% off and free shipping by going to manscaped.com and enter the promo code LAKERS. I'll put that link in the comments section as well as the description of this video. We start off today's show by getting into the latest around Kent Bazemore. We've talked about him over the last couple of weeks here on the show because the Lakers would ideally like to trade him. My issue with Kent Bazemore, didn't play well when he was the starter with the Lakers to begin the year, and his trade value is somewhat damaged on the trade market because I'm not sure there are a lot of teams out there that would like to trade for Kent Bazemore. I think he's somewhat washed, but according to Bleacher Report's Jake Fisher, Lakers are looking to deal him ahead of the trade deadline, which, by the way, is a week from Thursday on February 10th. Can't believe it's already here. We'll have you covered with coverage right here on the channel. He began the season in the starting lineup. I didn't like that move from head coach Frank Vogel. Would have liked one of the younger pieces as one of the starters, and his role has really faded over time, and I think it's only a matter of time before he's let go in some way or another. The clock is certainly ticking for him, and it's ticking for the Lakers with 8 days until the NBA trade deadline. Here's the problem that we continue to talk about with Kent Bazemore on this current roster. Ask yourself this question. Who wants Kent Bazemore? Up to this point, 29 games played, 3.9 points per game. During that time, as he's been getting DNP'd a lot, only shot around 34% from the floor, 37% from three might give him some value, but at the same time, he's way too inconsistent for me. With the Warriors last year, he was really up and down, riding the seesaw on that roster all throughout the year, and we've seen that translate to the Lakers roster this year. Rob Pelinka, LeBron James, the front office, management, ownership. Do you trust this organization to make the right moves at the NBA trade deadline? Your opportunity to be a part of the show and voice how you're feeling about the Lake Show. Type Y for yes, type N for no. Austin Reaves, on the other hand, one of the lone young bright spots on this roster who has really been an uncovered gem for the Lakers. I mean, he didn't get drafted out of Oklahoma, goes to Las Vegas, plays very well in the NBA Summer League. That then earned him a contract with the Lakers, and he's really given this team some instrumental and monumental minutes. According to CBS Sports, they listed Austin Reaves as a trade asset that the Lakers could look to deal, and other teams could be all in trying to pick up Austin Reaves, who's affordable, he's young, and he has modern day value. Has good size, and he can shoot the three ball. Now, Reaves has impressed as an undrafted rookie, and I think it'd be wise for the Lakers to hold on to him because you look at the roster right now, bunch of old guys on it. Austin Reaves, Talen Horton-Tucker, Kendrick Nunn, Malik Monk, one of the few young assets you actually have. And some people look at that and say, okay, well, he is one of the young assets that the Lakers have. That's why they should trade him, because he's one of the only players who could actually net something back. Here's what CBS Sports had to say on Reaves, who is the, Arkansas Kobe is what his nickname is? Arkansas Hillbilly, I love it. Ironically, undrafted rookie Austin Reaves might be too valuable to the current team to put into trade offers. Even if he helps the Lakers land a notable player, that player would have to replace his production on top of whatever the Lakers ask of Austin Reaves. Then why include him on this list, CBS Sports? And if you're the Lakers, why entertain trading away Austin Reaves? It is paramount in today's NBA, given stylistically how the game is played, but also some of the gaps and holes on this roster, that you have 3-and-D guys on your squad. Plus, the Lakers are barely paying Austin Reaves anything. That's why he's a valuable asset. Now, the similarities of the LeBron and Kobe era That's kind of what comes to mind when I think about this, because at the tail end of Kobe's career, he was making so much money, and the Lakers weren't a competitive team because Kobe wanted veteran players to compete for an NBA championship, and on top of that, they were cap-strapped. What's the problem with the Lakers? LeBron is older. He's making a lot of money. They don't have a lot of young pieces on this roster because they're trying to compete for a championship. But that's a hindrance to the Lakers now, and it certainly affected them back then. And that's why I worry a little bit about this organization moving forward, even though the franchise has always shown an ability and a willingness to spend and compete because, after all, the Lakers do have a league-leading 17 championships. As for what Reaves has done in his rookie campaign, I've been really impressed. So too is Phil Handy. 21 minutes per game, 6 points, 46% from the floor, and I'd like to see that three-point number of 31.5% be a little bit better, but I'm talking about upside here. And in 32 games played, you've seen some of that upside. You've seen some of that growth as well. Grade Austin Reaves' play this year as a rook. I mean, you have to be nice about it, too. You can't give the man a D or an F. Rookie, undrafted, shows out in Las Vegas in the Sin City, and now in the City of Angels. He's been playing well, but I want to hear from you in the comment section down below. NBA trade deadline, 8 days away. Valentine's Day, right after that the following week. Get yourself hooked up, or maybe a significant other, with the great products from Manscaped. 20% off and free shipping if you go to manscaped.com and enter the promo code Lakers. The Lawnmower 4.0, it's an absolute game changer for a multitude of reasons. The battery life on this thing lasts forever. There's a light so you can actually see what you're doing, especially if you cut down below the belt. The Lawnmower 4.0 is also waterproof, and the technology on this thing really is crazy. And it's available right now for just $72. Now, those cheap razors out there, they'll cut you up, they'll slice and dice you, kind of like LeBron James getting to the cup. The Lawnmower 4.0 doesn't do that because of the wonderful Safeguard technology, the perfect gift for Valentine's Day. If you go to manscaped.com, enter the promo code Lakers, and you get 20% off and free shipping. All right, Paul Millsap now. So, interesting player because he has really had a very impressive NBA career, but this year, in his lone season with the Brooklyn Nets, he was not good at all. According to Jake Fisher, Lakers mentioned as a potential suitor for Paul Millsap if and when he hits the buyout market. I think it's inevitable that that happens. The Nets have been trying to find a suitor for him and a bigger role for him on a different team. Kind of nice of the organization to do that. And if you canvass the rumors landscape, Millsap prefers a move to Chicago because he has some ties to that front office. But if he doesn't go to Chicago to compete for a ready-to-win team, could he help out Los Angeles? You take a look at what he's been able to do over the last 4 years. And while he was with the Denver Nuggets prior to this year, he was still a pretty solid player who could start some games for you, come in off the bench. 2018-19, it's not too long ago. 12.5 points per game, 7+ rebounds, shot around 48%. That 48% clip then carried over really into the next 2 years. And even last year, 9 points per game, 4.5 rebounds on a team that suffered a lot of injuries. So he was thrust into a bigger role down the stretch in the year, but he hits the NBA free agency market. He had some suitors like the Chicago Bulls and the Golden State Warriors. He ends up going to the Brooklyn Nets, but he looked washed just like kind of Blake Griffin looked washed. Now, if he were to come to the Lakers, what would his impact be? I'll tell you this, if it was 5 years ago, I would have really liked Paul Millsap on the Los Angeles Lakers because back then he was still a pretty productive player. I have some concerns. I have some questions about how he is aging because he didn't look to have a lot of that juice left in his legs. And sometimes, as we see with these players who do age, if they age very, very quickly, man, it happens overnight where really they can't play then in the present as compared to even a year prior. Now, NBA trade deadline, 8 days away, and we have you covered here on the Los Angeles Lakers Report by Chat Sports. We have been growing like crazy, as evidenced by the sub count, as evidenced by how many people are watching our shows, so do the right thing. do the smart thing and subscribe to the channel so you can stay on top of all things Lakers. Latest news, latest rumors, latest trade rumors, and if a trade goes down for Los Angeles, we'll have you covered faster than anybody else. We're on the road to 50K. Be a part of the Laker Nation family here at Chat Sports. Interesting couple of tidbits before we hop on out of here. Charles Oakley, a longtime NBA player who was a very productive player for a very long time, said LeBron James will leave the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, we talked about this a couple months ago when I kind of floated the idea and hit on some rumors about LeBron going back home to Ohio to go back to the Cleveland Cavaliers because that team certainly surging, maybe in a better spot right now and in the future than Los Angeles. And Charles Oakley, maybe you watched the video. This is what he had to say about LeBron potentially leaving LA. LeBron's legacy right now is he definitely wants to win a championship before he retires. He might have to leave LA to get it. I don't know if it will be Cleveland. It could be somewhere else, but he left twice. He'll leave again. Now, with LeBron James's legacy, he has always been chasing down Michael Jordan, and that sentiment still remains. LeBron James wants to catch Michael Jordan's 6 NBA championships so he can be considered the GOAT. Now, to some people, he's already considered the GOAT. I think he's like 1B behind Michael Jordan. Maybe he's even in that number 2 spot. Really, that's an argument for a different day. But LeBron cares about his legacy. He cares about what people think about him and what people say about him. And LeBron is chasing down Jordan's rings. Now, this is what LeBron had to say in July of 2021 when he was kind of asked about this and whether or not he wanted to stay in LA for the long term. I truly hope that I can finish my career with the Lakers, however many years that is, if it's 4, 5, 6, whatever, 7. I hope I can continue to play the game. I love being in LA. My family loves being in LA. Being with a historical franchise like the Lakers is something. You think about Kareem and Magic and Wilt and Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Kobe, Shaq, and all of them, the whole list goes on. And I think as part of this conversation, you have to think about Bronny James. He's currently in high school, playing at Sierra Canyon in California. That's a factor in what LeBron James is going to decide to do, but so too are his business interests. He has a bunch of business kind of ties in California, in LA, and I think that plays a role in where LeBron James is going to go. Plus, I do think that he really enjoys living and playing in LA. So LeBron James, following that conversation, will retire with who? Which team? Which organization? Type L for the Lakers, type O for other. If you think it's the Cavs, you can say that too. You let me know in the comments section, and thanks for watching today's Lakers Report.